thank you for sharing the didgeridoo with our children at the camp this weekend and this morning with us. We really appreciate that. It's for those who don't know, it's an Australian Aboriginal instrument. It's one of the oldest instruments known. So the Jews were blowing the shofar for their New Year, but we're blowing the didgeridoo here at the Unitarian Church. I love that. I'm struck by this service already. Sometimes it kind of gets into me as well. When I announce the death of Bobby Ray's brother at age 20 from a drive-by shooting, just a careless mistake. And when I think as we collected money for hunger and thinking about the hunger in our nation and in our state and in our city, and it just reminds me how real it all is. That we come to church and hopefully are reminded about what a real world we live in, and it pulls us out of our own lives enough so that we do what we can to make sure that when our time comes, when we are on our deathbeds, that we've lived a life in such a way that we feel like we've done the best we could. Now, if you were here last week, you heard my sermon that ended with the idea that it's Friday, but Sunday's coming. It's the idea of anticipation. It's the idea that we're living in a world that's not all that we want it to be, and yet we have hope that it can and will become better. But this idea that things are going to get better can be a kind of trap, too. We've all said it. You've said it. I've said it. Things are going to get better as soon as I finish that project at work, as soon as I pay off that loan. As soon as I get my degree. As soon as I get out of debt. No, really, as soon as the kids are out of school. Just as soon as I get that promotion. As soon as I lose those 15 pounds. Then things will start to get better. Then we'll be able to start living how we want to live. Then our marriage and sex life will improve. Promises, promises. Then I'll have time to start exercising more. Then I'll stop drinking and gambling and smoking so much. Too often we live our lives as if they're on hold. And like we're waiting for a time when we will really start living. But does that day ever come? Does it ever come to people who are always saying, once I finish this, then I'll start living? What do you think? Does that day ever come? I'm not sure that day ever comes. The question is, what's the difference between a true vision of hope and a mere pipe dream? A lot of times a vision is nothing more than a fantastic future that people concoct to help them feel better about the miserable circumstances of their current life. In the time of Jesus, the Jewish people were living with an enormous tension between their everyday reality as a conquered and occupied people and their mythic vision of being God's chosen people. They had fallen a long way from the days when they were ruled by great kings like Solomon and David. They'd been divided and defeated and in decline as a nation for centuries at this point. There was an enormous incongruity between their oppression by the Romans and their vision of being the saviors of the world. So they lived with the illusion that when the Messiah comes, then we'll regain our glory and prestige, and peace and justice will once again fill the earth. For the Jews of Jesus' time, the coming of the kingdom of heaven was an idea of great power and triumph and glory for them. And the hope that such a day would come helped them endure the ghastly circumstances of Roman oppression and domination. The symbol they had for the kingdom of heaven was the great cedars of Lebanon. These are trees like the redwood forests of California that tower hundreds of feet into the sky. Have you ever seen the redwoods? Anybody seen the redwoods? Now, that's a powerful image. Tall, majestic, strong. But then this funky upstart from the backwaters of Galilee comes along and says, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a farmer plants in his field. Why would he say such a thing? A mustard seed? Did he just say a mustard seed? He's the carpenter's son. What does he know about gardens? Have you ever seen a mustard plant? It's a shrub. It's practically a weed. In fact, it spreads so quickly and uncontrollably that they didn't plant mustard seeds in gardens back then because it would overtake and overwhelm the people's veggies. An educated listener in Jesus' time would have known that the mustard seed is considered by Jews to be an unclean plant and was not permitted to be planted by farmers in their fields. So why would Jesus compare the kingdom of heaven to such an act as planting an unruly, unclean seed in a farmer's field? Because Jesus was all about undermining the distorted myths with which people live their lives. And the idea that the kingdom of heaven was going to come in a powerful blaze of glory from on high was not a vision that was helping his people live lives of meaning and purpose. It was a pipe dream that was keeping his people oppressed. It was a vision that served to give them just enough hope to be adjusted to a maladjusted world. His aim was to undercut that distorted vision and to replace it with a vision worth living for, even worth dying for. A vision that would not leave people biding their time and wasting their lives. A vision that did not leave people with a victim mentality that says, there's not much I can do, I just have to wait on God. It's like waiting for Godot. So instead of the image of a giant cedar, he offered a vision of an infectious shrub that grows about 4 feet high, and the branches are small enough, but a few birds could probably perch in them. Now, the point being that the kingdom of heaven, or a world filled with peace and justice for all, is not going to come through some grand apocalyptic event in the future. Peace and justice will come through countless common everyday actions and occurrences. So we must seek God and seek our hope in the common everyday things. That's how it will spread and change the world. Through small common deeds spreading like weeds by regular people in ordinary communities. When Jesus said this, it was such an inversion of the thinking and the culture of his time that even his own followers could not fully grasp it. Catholic theologian Thomas Keating explains that there are 4 versions of this parable.